Okay, good.
All right. So, Crystal, our first question for you is, why don't you introduce yourself and let us know what you were doing in your life or in your career that prompted you to seek out coaching and career guidance.
So, hi, I'm Crystal Kadakia. And, when I approached Laurel, or Laurel found me, I can't remember which one it was, but it was I was in I think I was about 24 at the time. And I had been having a lot of health issues at my corporate job. I was doing a 9-to-5 job, and I'd been trying to kind of part ways with the 9-to-5 lifestyle and kind of seek something that was going to be healthier. And so at the time, I had realized I was an engineer, and I realized that what I wanted to do was to help people. And so, I mean, I was applying to YMCA. I was in physical therapy for some of these health issues, and there was a pain coach there. And the pain coach kept telling me, you should really look into coaching as a profession for yourself, because it's something that I think, you would really gravitate towards. So I think when I met Laurel, I was down this path of, I'd already gotten one coaching certification. I had started working with high school students and wanted to help them figure out their kind of career path, which of course, as you know, like Laurel is just so great. That's a huge focus of hers. And for me, I was personally in a place where I was still figuring out how to kind of part ways with my job. I was in a relationship and, still trying to figure out kind of the future steps. And at the same time, I was looking at understanding what Laurel does in a way to serve my very new client base at the time. And so it was just, I can't remember who found who first. I remember that I was able to meet Laurel in person, because at the time, and lovely, she travels everywhere. So at the time she was moving around, trying different places. So we met up in Austin, and I'm in Atlanta now. So I traveled to Austin to see some family, and we met up for breakfast and had a wonderful conversation. And I was just hooked. I was like, I want to try out your program. I want to try it for myself. I want to see how this works for other people. And I was ready to go. So it was a very pivotal time in my life. And I've definitely learned a lot from that time and gone forward to do some cool stuff.
With your experience with Laurel is what a lot of people have said. She came in at the right time when they were in a period of transition, and clearly you were in a very big period of transition.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of transition.
And a lot of people don't open up at first about the physical aspects, but as we start talking, they start to say, well, I was also having a lot of anxiety, and that would manifest itself in sleeping problems and health problems. So your experience is right in line with so many of the people that Laurel has helped.
Yeah, and I've always been very open about those sort of things, because it's something that, for me, I mean, I was very, very self-aware that there was this misalignment between what I was doing in my day job and what I really wanted to be doing. And that was causing a lot of physical stress. And I think you're right. A lot of people don't think that they're physically impacted by things like a misalignment of purpose. But you often, I mean, that is where so many things just sit in you. And so it's something I'm always very open about, because I think other people aren't necessarily always as aware of it. And until somebody says it, like, yeah, this was really causing not just, anxiety and it wasn't just a immaterial impact, it was affecting everyday life. And, you don't know it until you move on from it a lot of times. So sometimes somebody just saying that to someone can help them be like, oh, well, am I in the right place? Is it manifesting in different places that I don't, usually consider? So, yeah.
I was thinking about what you just said, and sometimes people just can't articulate it because, right, once you say it out loud, you are admitting to yourself that this is affecting you in this
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
Yeah. So the second question is, going into your experience with Laurel, did you have a goal in mind? It sounds like you obviously knew you needed to have a change, and somebody had recommended coaching to you as a career move, a possible career move. So did you obviously knew you needed a change, but did it take Laurel to help you figure out that coaching was it, or Laurel to help you figure out how to get from, yes, I want to be a coach, or this is my path, to how to do it?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I'm an engineer. I don't go into anything without a goal. So I definitely had a goal in mind. I think that it's maybe not as specific as helping me decide the one thing I wanted to do and then how to move forward from there. It was more like I knew at the time, with all this personal stuff going on and then professional chaos, that there were kind of two things really coming up for me. And one was really understanding what these barriers were that were limiting me from moving forward. And the way that Laurel had her 12 steps and how they were tied, I'm speaking to 12 steps, not knowing if that's evolved since, the time I went through the program. But, these 12 steps that were very clearly laid out, not just in an emotional context, but a material outcome. So it was really tying together how I was feeling with something concrete. So I think that really convinced me, okay, in terms of understanding what are the limiting barriers, both health, personal, professional, that are stopping me from moving forward, Laurel's program is going to help me understand that. And that was a goal I wanted to really do, is let's overcome some of these limiting barriers. The other goal I had was very business in mind, and that's because I was working with young students. We were really looking at figuring out ways to partner, and I ended up getting certified as a coach, and part of certified as a coach for Laurel's program. And so that's been great because I actually was able to work on the Bright Livelihoods program with another student. At this point in time, I'm no longer coaching. I'm more in the consulting arena. So, I wouldn't say coaching was necessarily my single outcome, but at that time, there was definitely a business partnership goal we were looking at. But I think for me, it was really the limiting barriers piece that I wanted to get out of the program.
She is still using the 12-step methodology.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know she maybe had added a 13th, or, you never know. These things can evolve over time. So.
Right. They do shift and change. She will eventually shift some of the focus, although the steps will remain intact. And that's the other thing I notice when I speak to people about the program, is that the way that she has set up these steps is so masterful in terms of how you are being guided through to whatever your goal is. Even if you start the program without a goal. Some people have started it just knowing they needed a change, rather than going into specifics. So with that in mind, with those 12 steps in mind, was there a specific Bright Livelihoods chapter or lesson or activity that helped clarify your vision, your sort of Oprah moment, or something that you really connected to along that path, along those 12 steps?
Yeah. So here's what I want to share about this. Is one, I think the entire program is so useful, and it really builds step by step. And that I couldn't pick on I was looking back at my notes, and I couldn't pick a particular step because it was just so, I could see, looking back on it, and I kept all my notes from every chapter. I could see my evolution as a person throughout the whole program. So what I want to share is I want to share two of the artifacts from the end. So after I went through the whole program, these are kinds of the things that this boiled down to. So for the longest time, and I'm going to hang this back up again, but I created this piece of art. You might be able to sort of see it. And what it has on here is my overall kind of life statement, like what it is I want to pursue, kind of who is that secret sauce about me. And what it says is to journey towards and leverage truth and authenticity to live a happy life for all I touch. And that statement about leveraging truth, authenticity, living not just a happy life for myself, but for everyone I touch, really living that way. That succinct statement is something that boiled down from this program. And it's something I look at today and it's still just as relevant. I mean, I dug this out of the archives, but it's still so relevant. And then the letters on the side, one of the things in the program you do is you develop kind of these 5 roles at the end, or these 5 kind of personas of who you are. And they address those limiting barriers to now how do I overcome those barriers and who do I want to be. So I had family inspirer. I wanted to be someone who inspired my family, pragmatic brainstormer, empowerment guide, experiential learner, and self-healer. And those things, again, these roles, it really stuck with me. You know, despite me no longer having this hung up, which I'm now going to hang up again because it's just so powerful to read what it was that really spoke to me from the program. They're still completely relevant. And I don't think you can say that about very many programs. The other thing I've created was this 100 things I want to do. And that's another piece of the program towards the end you get to. And, you know, again, I had my 5 roles at the top and the phrase. I only got down to 34 things I wanted to do, but they are 34 huge things. It's kind of like your bucket list. And so, you know, I look at these things and it's so inspiring even today to look at it. And I think that when I can't say a specific chapter called out to me, what I can say is that by the end of this, I created something so powerful and something so true to me that something I created at 24, 23 still resonates when I'm now 30. And that's a big deal because, you know, in your 20s, you're changing a lot. So it's pretty powerful to create something at that young age and have it still be such a powerful truth for who you are. And I think the fact that it addressed emotions and the pragmatic goals so well is what created something that everlasting and that authentic. So yeah, it's just, I hope that answers the question, but I couldn't say how much Laurel's program really impacted me. And it's something where you don't think about it every day after the fact, but then you go back and you look at it and you're like, wow, this was a huge turning point. And I really did address some of the barriers. And some of my barriers were really around setting healthy boundaries, knowing when to help, when not to help. Helping people was really draining me. And I used to help people all the time. It didn't matter who they were. And it was in a way that wasn't renewing. And something I saw over and over again in my notes was, you know, about setting kind of these boundaries where these relationships become more reciprocal. And Laurel, getting the coaching through Laurel, working through the workbook, even the workbook alone just really helped me reflect on what it was that was hurting me. How do I address it? And the thing is, as an entrepreneur, as a business person, as an engineer, I'm very strategic. And this all sounds mushy, but what it really did was it designed my business plan going forward. And it's still something today. I can see those same boundaries as a consultant now in a completely different space of public speaking and training, working with Fortune 500 companies. I'm still seeing as, wow, those healthy boundaries, learning the emotions of what hurt me, what helps me help others, plays out in directly guiding my business plan. This is how I'm going to work with people. This is who's a good client for me. This is where I can best play a role versus just play a helping role and get drained later. So it was very, very, very powerful. Couldn't have put more varies in there.
Yeah. Your artifacts are fantastic. Those were absolutely perfect, spot on, and they're lovely. And I've known you for what, 15 minutes now? And they really do seem to be an extension of your personality. I'm having a very difficult time wrapping my head around this crystal with the crystal 7 or 8 years ago that needed a little bit of guidance, because this crystal seems so much, so like there was never a misstep or there was never a timeout. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like, that's what I also love about Laurel's program is, you know, you might go through it feeling broken, like you go to it feeling broken, but then as you're going through it, it's so strengths oriented that I think there's a sense of healing just with the words that are used to make you not feel less, but really to help you evolve and transform into a greater version of you. And so you might go into it thinking, oh, this is a problem I need fixed, or I'm in a horrible, chaotic situation. But again, like just going through those 12 steps again, you know, courage, you're addressing these different emotions that are intended to build on your strengths. And it makes you feel whole, just like, oh, hey, you know, these things, and you know, you go through the coaching, and whether it's Laurel or any of the other Bright Livelihood coaches, you go through it and they're always reinforcing, like, you know, this isn't as scary as you think. This is normal. And you know, and I think that's a really powerful attitude, because it helps reinforce, like, hey, you're not some broken mess. In fact, you're amazing. You're going to have a bright livelihood at the end of this. You're going to be in an amazing spot, and you're moving on the journey of life, and we're here to help you do that. And I just think that's very powerful as well. So it's a great point that you're bringing up. Is definitely an evolution from where I was at to where I am now.
Which is what Laurel always does talk about. So we touched a little bit on what you are doing now. You said that you did take the program about 7 years ago or so. Can you expound upon that and touch upon the book that you've written, the consulting that you're doing, or whatever you feel comfortable discussing?
Yeah, sure. So since I was in Bright Livelihoods, I did leave the corporate job. So I'm no longer doing the 9 to 5. About 4 years ago, I launched my full-time own business, and it's really based around millennials in the workplace. And so I spent a lot of time working with leaders, talking to them about millennials, not so much from the diversity and inclusion aspect and the whole generational warfare, but more from the respective millennials are this last generation to remember a world without the internet. And, you know, we need to really think consciously about the workplace we're building in the future. What do we need to bring forward from the past? What do we need to consciously adapt to in this digital age? And so I really help leaders figure out how to create engaging and productive workplaces. So I've been doing a lot of public speaking. It's coaching in another form of, you know, helping leaders. Sometimes it can be one-on-one, but a lot of times it's working on the strategy around the organization, and you know, what are they doing for learning and development? What are they doing for onboarding and manager training and so on? And so recently, actually, so last month, I published my first book on this, which have a copy right here. More artifacts, but it's The Millennial Myth, Transforming Misunderstanding into Workplace Breakthroughs. And it's really cool to see this in print. You know, it's kind of my baby. It's taking 4 years of speaking engagements and distilling it down to this, you know, 2 TEDx talks, over 100 talks now. And I'm about to do my first international speaking engagement in a few weeks in Norway. So it's just, you know, and again, I can just say, if you don't get past those limiting barriers, for me, setting those boundaries was really important. You know, it unlocks something that you weren't able to do before. And so, you know, I might not be in that coaching track of the high school students anymore, but where I've kind of shifted is really still living that mission and purpose around bringing this sort of truth and authenticity to people to live that kind of happy life, and kind of make the workplace a better place, you know, especially given how much of a problem it was for me. I kind of want to, that's my fuel for let's see what we can do in the future. So yeah, it's very, it all ties back together in the end. It's all it all weaves together. So yeah.
It does. Congratulations on Norway. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really very, very excited.
Good for you. This has been really, really great. I enjoy the interviews that I collect for her, and yours has been very inspiring and lovely. So I'm glad we got the chance to connect. And
Yeah,
I can't wait to send this over to Laurel. She's going to be so happy to see you and to hear you.
hi,
So,
Laurel. Yeah, I'd love to. I'm really glad that she asked. I'm glad that there's a way to support what she's doing, because I think it's very, very important. And I think it's something that it's a very hard thing for people to grasp before they're in the program. So it's one of those things that's hard to make the investment, but when you do, it's transformational. And it's getting people to that point of let's move forward with this. And so anything I can do to support that. I hope she's getting a lot of these interviews, and I hope it comes off to people as this is a real story, because this is a very real story. And I mean, we did that work, I think, in 2 months, maybe. And it's something that I can look back on 7 years later and still see as a tremendous impact. And I think that's something, again, you don't look at it every day, but when you see something that means so much still, I don't know. I just think it's very much worth the investment, worth the time I put in. I would make the same choice I made back then. And I think that's so cool, you know, because like how many times do you do something and you're just like, I don't really know what I got out of that, or like a couple months later you're like, well, I'm in a totally different, I don't really see what that contributed. This is not one of those things. It's not one of those things. It's a thing you can pick back up. I'll probably pick this up when I'm 40 and look at it and be like, wow, yeah, yeah, that's what I did. So anyway, yeah, please.
I'm glad in some small way I got to sort of instigate you looking back on your Bright Livelihoods artifacts by asking you to come and do this for us.
I'm so glad. And I would be remiss if I said, please encourage people to go to Amazon. And I can send you guys a link, but it's on there. But if you guys do include that as a part of the video or anything, just please put a reminder for folks to.
Oh no, not if. That's going on there. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's such an amazing. Was that one of your goals? I wanted to ask. Was that a goal on your sheet?
I know I had publishing a book.
Okay.
I do publishing a book. Oh yes. Okay. Yeah. I have this line number 20, publish out of the office into the woods. That was the name of the book back then, which out of the office into the woods. I just love it. You know, it's like how does digital affect workplaces? I look back on the outline for that book when I was writing this one, and it actually is pretty similar. So it really did carry forward into this. So this is really 7 years in the making. You know, we got it done. So yeah.
Oh, good. Yay!
Well, thanks for asking that. I didn't realize that, but it is on that 100 things I want to do. So it all comes back together. So
fantastic. I think that's it for me. That means our time is over, but I really liked meeting you. This has been tremendously fun.
Yeah, same here. And I don't know, how did you and Laurel, I was going to say Lisa, how did you and Laurel connect?
Well, actually, there's a co-working space here in Chicago called Next Door, and I was over there one day, and she was there, and I sat in on one of her seminars, and it just so happened that, it's so strange, but it just so happened that at that particular time, I was probably 2 or 3 months into having lost my mom, and I was in this like boring 9 to 5 job because she was going through an illness, and I just needed a job that was like 9 to 5, no weekends, no holidays, just put your time in and go home. And the one thing my mom said to me before she passed away was, Lisa, just go get a job finally that you love. So, so it just all sort of kind of synced up. I went through the program and then started doing some stuff for her after that, around that. And then one of the things she often asks me to do every now and again is to, hook up with people and interview them for her. And that's what I get to do for her, for her right now.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about your mom.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I mean, it was a long, protracted thing, and so it was. So everything sort of works out. There's a cycle to life and all of that kind of stuff. So you just have to sort of stay positive and go find the inspiration and the people that can help you when the people that used to do it are now no longer available, right? Because there's always somebody that you can help, and there's always somebody that can help you. So
yeah, and it sounds like she inspired you to do something you love.
Yeah, she did.
For you, and so I'm sure she's super proud watching you do what you're doing now. So that's amazing. So Lisa, I hope this was. I can tell that it was helpful. So I look forward to seeing it, and thank you again for setting it up and asking some really great questions and giving me a chance to look back at all this great stuff. And hopefully we'll keep in touch. And please let Laurel know that I send my best regards, and just can't wait to hopefully see her sometime in the future.
Absolutely, I absolutely.
If you're in Atlanta, give me a holler.
Yeah. All right. Take care, Crystal.
All right, you too. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.